Okay. Well, today I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff that I think is important for everybody to know. So I will begin by talking about everything. We're going to be talking about how to build a balanced, mental, healthy life. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I have a bunch of things that I've written down. My name is Dr. Mary Opara. I am a DMP, a doctorate in nursing practice with 25 plus years in psychiatry mental health. And I treat pretty much, I would say, 95% of disorders. So, what I'm doing here today is to give you the basics of what you need to do for your mental health. And then from there forth, we can now go into the disorders of mental health and talk about the assessments and the diagnosis and the treatment and um, treatment approaches that we use for those disorders. But before we can even get into this, let's look at those basic things that need to be done um, for ourselves before we can even think about fixing those other problems that we have. Because if we don't even get to the basics of what we need to do for ourselves, then we wouldn't even be good enough to be able to move to the more intense things or more things that are a little bit more challenging that we might need to do. So we start with the basics. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. My disclaimer is that everything that I will be talking about here today, it's for educational purposes, informational, and mental health awareness. By all means, this doesn't say anything about this being a provider-client relationship. So for any questions you need or any treatment options or issues, please refer back to your provider um, for treatment. Okay, so that's what I wanted to establish as a disclaimer. So, we're going to be talking about how to build a balanced, mental, healthy lifestyle. So, that's what we're going to be looking at today. So, all the things that we need to do that. So, we're going to be looking at different aspects of it and ways to improve our mental health. So, as I said, consult with your therapist or your own provider for any other specifics, or if you need any kind of therapy, that would be the therapist. If you need any kind of medication, and that will be through your psychiatrist, physician assistant, nurse practitioner, or whoever that you choose to see for your treatment options. Okay, so before we talk about diagnosis and other things, like I mentioned, we will start with the basics. So that's what we're going to be doing here today. So if you are in here, if you anybody else has joined, please as you comment, type here so that I will know that you are here. So some daily habits that we can form that will help with our mental health is who can tell me who can tell me what basic habits of life are that we can start that will help us get a good day, like from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. What's the most important thing that you hear people talk about all the time that is important that we get? Is it hydration? Is it sleep? Is it nutrition? Well, they're all important, but we're going to break down each one and talk about how important these things all are in terms of us having a better quality of life. All those things do lead to a better quality of life. So, like I said, I've written a lot of things down here that we're going to be looking at. We're going to look at why sleep is important. We're going to look at why nutrition is important, why movement is important, mindfulness, and also stress management. We're going to talk about why all of these are important. So, this is not being about you being perfect. It's just you being able to be consistent with these things. Building that consistency is what really matters. If you build that consistency with these things, then that will help. It could be life changing. So we're going to look at. I was waiting for some more people to comment before we start, but um, I'm not sure whether I have enough people because I wanted to make this more of interactive back and forth, talking to you guys and getting responses back. But I guess as this being the first time going live stream, there are not a lot of people in here, but Nevertheless, I am going to continue for the one or two that are in here. So, so mental health isn't just the absence of illness, it's the ability to focus and still enjoy life and get by through life and do everything that you do, feeling good about yourself, feeling good and your body feeling good. And even if you do have stress or anything happen to your body, to be able to bounce back from it and recover from it. So when you do all that, it affects your mental health in a positive way. So that's what trying to balance your whole mental health is all about. So, and when you have that balance, it's pretty much telling your nervous system, you know what, I know what you need. I know what you need. I know what's good for you. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to be looking at all the things that you need to do to give you that well balanced mental health. So those are the things that we're going to be looking at. If anybody comes in, please type here so that I can know that you are here in the chat, if you don't mind. Please type here in the chat so that I can know that you are here and address you by name. Okay. All righty. So let's go right into it. So when some people get really exhausted, tired, not feeling good, right away they think it's depression, anxiety, but sometimes it's just that their system is out of balance. And when your system is out of balance, you're going to feel those certain types of ways. But that doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It just means that you need to apply these things that we're going to go over into your life. And that will give you the changes that you need to have that whole balance in your whole system from head to toe. So these are the things that we're going to be looking at. So if I were to ask, what right now feels most out of balance in your life? Is it your sleep? Is it your nutrition? Is it your lack of exercise? Is it stress? Or is it time? Which of the things do you feel that is the thing that you deal with the most, that gives you the most stress? Type in the chat. Out of all the things I mentioned, sleep, stress, nutrition, time, energy, which of the things would you say is the most thing that feels out of balance in your life right now? Which of these things? Type in the chat which one it is. All right, so we're going to start with talking about sleep. So sleep is one of the most important, but often overlooked. People overlook sleep a lot because they don't really understand the necessity for sleep. And when you do get sleep, you are rejuvenating your body. When your body gets that rejuvenation that it needs, then you start the next day better. So you get that rest at night and get a good rest at night and make it consistent. Make it a consistent thing and try to also get the same amount of sleep most of the days, even weekends. So don't make it like you go to bed at 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, and on the weekends you get to bed at 2 a.m. Try and make it consistent because your body would prefer that. It prefers that consistency to have that balance. But yeah, once in a while, if you do have things to do and you're not able to do that, that's okay. But for the most part, if you can make it more of a consistency, then that would be really good. So sleep is one of the things that is the foundation of mental health. So your sleep, when you don't get a good sleep, it affects your mood. It could make you anxious. It affects your focus. It affects your appetite. It affects your hormones. So sleep is one of the things that is often overlooked that is very important. And typically for adults, it says that we should have a good 6 to 8 hours sleep. Children, even more, maybe a good 8 to 10 hours, or even a little bit more if possible. But adults, between 6 to 8 hours is usually what's recommended for adults, and that should be more than enough sleep. So when you don't have good sleep, it mimics depression and anxiety symptoms, like I mentioned before. So try and get that good sleep every day, not just Monday through Friday, and then on the weekend, you're not getting good sleep. And when you do sleep, there are things that you can do to make your sleep better sleep, quality of sleep. And one of those things is Turning off your electronics. I know a lot of us have a hard time turning off our electronics at least 60 minutes before bedtime. Because when you do that, you're telling your brain that you are winding down. Your brain now understands that, oh, this is a time to wind down and go to sleep. So your brain is in preparation for that. So it helps a lot. And try to sleep in a darker room, make it a little cooler, because when you sleep in a cooler room, people tend to get better sleep than if you sleep in a room that's hot. So try and be in a cooler temperature when you sleep. Um, that typically works a lot better. And also try and avoid caffeine as much as you can. If you drink caffeine, just cut it off sometime during the afternoon. Don't let it go late into the evenings, because if you let it go into the evening, sometimes it could mess up your quality of sleep, or you could wake up several times in the night. So try and make your sleep a good quality of sleep by avoiding caffeine later on in the evening. So maybe cut it off. I wouldn't say even maybe by afternoon, early evening. Don't drink, especially coffee that late, because there's some people that like to drink a lot of coffee and even tea that is caffeinated. So when you drink those things, sometimes it does keep you up at night due to the caffeine in those things. So those things are things that you can do to improve the quality of your sleep. Like I said, a dark room, cooler environment, and try and get comfortable pillow, because sometimes if you're not sleeping in a comfortable environment, then you're not going to be able to get good quality sleep. So make sure that you're sleeping on the quality of pillow that you like to sleep on, and that also would help give you a better sleep. So that's one of the things. So if I were to ask, how many hours of sleep are you getting every night? Type in the chat and be honest. How many hours of sleep are you getting currently every night? How many hours of sleep do you think you're getting? Maybe you don't know the exact number, but do you think you're getting adequate sleep? Do you feel rejuvenated the next day? Do you feel like you felt good? Do you think that you got enough sleep and you're ready to go the next day? Or do you feel like, no, I'm still tired in the morning, I probably didn't get a good sleep? Any response in the chat? Okay, so we're going to move on. So the next thing that's very important is nutrition. When you don't eat well, especially when you go to bed and wake up the next morning, if you're not eating, especially breakfast, that's why they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, then you could have these sugar swings, and that causes a lot of anxiety because you're not eating. So they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Yeah, it really is, because breakfast helps you break that fast that you had from the night before. And it also helps with energy, and it helps with that glucose, because if you don't have anything in the morning, then your brain is struggling to regulate, it's struggling to focus, it's struggling to have the energy for you to be active for the day. So it's good to have breakfast in the mornings and try to keep it. I mean, you can do fruits, you can do whole grains, things like that. It doesn't have to be something heavy, but you could do something like that. Maybe a fruit, maybe a bar of fiber, things like that. You know, just things that are not too heavy. If you don't like heavy things, some people don't like having heavy breakfast in the morning and would rather just have something that's a little bit on the lighter side. So that's very important that we do that. Also, for your nutrition, try to avoid fast foods as much as possible, and try to avoid foods that are over processed, because those processed foods are really not good for us. I mean, they taste better most of the times, but in terms of how it really affects our body, no, it's really not good for us at all. So try to avoid those kind of food as much as possible, because it also inflames your body and could cause mood changes, you know, mood shifts in your system. So they're not good to do it. So if you can avoid them and try to eat more of like whole foods that are less processed. If you can get the ones that are not processed at all, those are even better. But if you can't get it, get the ones that are less processed than the ones that are heavily processed foods. Another thing with nutrition that's very important is hydration. Hydration is extremely important because that is how our system runs. That is how our system functions all through the day. So, in average, they say 6 to 8 cups of water, but sometimes even more. And I'm not talking about itty bitty cups. Sometimes they say a big, like 8 ounces cups. About 6 or 8 of those a day is what the body needs to be able to fully work the way it's supposed to work. So, water is very important. You don't want to be dehydrated with that. Um, so when you're not getting enough water, it could increase you being tired a lot and could make you irritable as well. So it's good to make sure that you're staying hydrated with water. I'm not talking about soda and I'm not talking about Kool-Aid. I'm not talking about anything like that. In between, if you need to have a drink of juice or something, but everything that I talked about in terms of the 6 to 8 glasses is water. 100% water. No, not talking about, like I said, soda or any of the other things. So when you eat your protein, like breakfast, you can do like fiber, fruit, when you do that. And like I said, it helps with the alertness, focus, and energy throughout the day. Don't skip meals. If you don't want to do a full meal, you can make it a little bit of less of a huge meal. If you don't want a huge meal, you can still have a good meal in the afternoon or for dinner. It doesn't have to be huge if you don't like to have 3 big meals for the day, but make sure that you're getting all the food groups in there and make sure that you're doing more of the whole foods than the processed foods because those will actually always do better for our system. So that's pretty much what I'm talking about in terms of that. So you can do more of nuts, vegetables, any food that's not altered, pretty much. So especially when you go to the store, make sure that you're picking up these foods that are not altered, foods that the labels don't show that they have so much process going on with it. So stay away from those foods that are because those are not good for your system. The better ones are if you can afford organic, but even if you can't afford organic, there's still a lot of other foods that you can eat that are not overly processed. So that's what you should be looking for when you go to the store about getting food that you need. Um, and then we're going to talk about exercise and movement. So, exercise, everybody knows how important exercise is because I always tell people that the muscle that is working our whole system is this tiny. That's how tiny our heart is. It's a little muscle that's working this whole body, as big as we all are, in terms of the if you look at the ratio of the little muscle that has to work this whole body to the whole system that we have, you will see that this little muscle needs to be worked. It really needs to be worked. It needs to be kept worked on, and that's what we do by getting the exercise. One thing people don't understand that if you're not exercising this muscle called the heart, that is one of the reasons why sometimes people get heart attacks and strokes. When the blood flow that goes back and forth through your system is not able to get through to your heart and out to your heart, that causes heart attacks because the blood flow is not going smoothly. Sometimes there's all this cholesterol plaques and fatty substances in your arteries. And as the blood is going, instead of it flowing easily, it's stuck. So instead of it going like this smoothly, it's going like this. So when the blood flow that's supposed to go back and forth to your heart is limited because of this cholesterol buildup in your system, you have a heart attack. When the blood flow is not adequate going back and forth to your head because of these substances and all the things that we eat that are not good for us, then we have a stroke because the blood flow that is going to our brains is not enough. It's not adequate enough oxygen that our brain is receiving. So that's why people have strokes. So that is why exercise is very important. You get to a certain age and it becomes a necessity. It's no more like, oh, I do it if I want to do it, or if I don't want to do it, I don't need it. You get to a certain age, and I don't even know what that age should be. I would say anybody from maybe 30s, 40s should take exercise serious, maybe even 20s if you have a history, a family history of anything that will put you in a situation for picking up things like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and other chronic illnesses, I would say definitely um, exercise is very important because what it does is helps everything flow smoother through your whole system, and it helps all your organs work better, and they're happy, and your heart is happy too because it can now do its job effectively without any issues because everything is moving the way it's supposed to be moving. So you're happy, your heart is happy, your whole system, all the organs in your body are happy because everything is working the way it's supposed to work now effectively. So you don't need a gym. Sometimes people wait till they can get a gym membership or can afford a gym membership, and they think that that's the only way that they can exercise. But no, there's so many ways that you can exercise without even leaving your homes. Some people have access to swimming pools. Swimming is one of the best exercises out there. So swimming is a great one. You can swim, learn to swim if you don't know how to. In your own home, you could do things like jump rope, you could do things like walking up and down the stairs. And you and I know that if you walk up and down the stairs, your heart starts to beat fast. So that in itself is exercise. You can turn on some YouTube videos and do a lot of aerobics. You know, can do a lot of, you can dance, 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 dance. All that is exercise. You can buy a treadmill at home, a bike at home, all those things that you can do at home. You can use the mats, buy a mat and do some yoga. All of these are different means of exercises that you can do at home without even having to leave the house. So you don't really have to go to a gym if you don't want to go to a gym. So so that's pretty much everything on exercise. So you don't have to go to a gym if you don't want to. Don't wait for the time when you will be able to do it because sometimes, as we're saying, oh, we're going to do it. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it the day after. It never happens. So just look for things that you will be able to do in the house, so that if for any reason later on you now have that gym membership, it can be used as well. But in the meantime, you're still doing something at home, which, like I said, becomes a necessity as we get older. It's no more, you can do it if you don't want to, and if you don't want to, it doesn't matter because, like I said earlier, our heart is this little and it needs to be worked on. It's a muscle. This is our heart is a muscle. The same way you work the muscles in your body is the same way that this heart muscle needs on. So, so that's it pretty much. Very important. Try and make sure you get in a minimum of 3 to 4 days of exercise weekly. 3 to 4 days is recommended. If you can do a little bit more, that's fine. But 3 to 4 days is what's usually recommended for exercises. You can do anything from walking, like I said, even in the neighborhood. You can take walks in the neighborhood. You can do some stretching at home. Like I said, you can use the mat, get a mat, go on the floor, do some floor exercises, do some yoga, dancing, a lot of chair exercises that are amazing on YouTube. So you can go on YouTube and do a lot of chair exercises. Those are really, really good too. And they're not too hard to do because you're doing it sitting on a chair. But believe it or not, they are rigorous enough that your system, your body gets what it needs from those exercises. So look into that as well and see what you can do. Because I know that a lot of times when I talk to patients, that's always the excuse, it's too cold, it's too hot. And then we talk about things that you could do at home. And then they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, you're right. I could do that. And I can do this and I can do that. I didn't even think about it. But sometimes, I just wanted to go to the gym. But yeah, instead of waiting for that time that I can go to the gym, I can do some of these things. So they pick up on that and then they start doing that. So when you do all that movement, your brain is told that you're safety, and then that helps reduce all the tension, it helps reduce the anxiety and the stress, because exercise is a stress reliever. So it does definitely help. And then we have meditation, mindfulness, and learning to calm the nervous system down. So meditation pretty much is setting time aside. You can close your eyes when you're doing it and learn to deep breathe. You're doing your deep breathing. And when you're doing that, you are just in your thoughts, but bring your thoughts to where you have peace of mind, because the essence of the breathing is to have that peace and calm. So that is how you would do the meditation. You can close your eyes and you can breathe. Some people prefer to do yoga, and in that time they also do some breathing exercises, which are amazing because that really does help calm your mind and relieve some stress if you do have stress. So that is also good. Also, mindfulness is great. Mindfulness is also noticing yourself in that moment, staying in the present moment. And if your mind, while you're doing the mindfulness, if your mind wanders, just slowly bring it back. Don't fight it. Don't fight the thoughts or anything. Just stay in your thoughts and think about your senses, feel your senses. Sometimes I tell people, listen to your heart as it rises and falls, any of the sensations that you can feel in your body. Just feel that and just stay in that present moment. And you can do that too with your eyes closed if you want to. So it is a form of meditation. So deep breathing is very, very good, where you take a deep breath, hold it, and then release. That is very, very good for you, especially if you're stressed out and you need to calm down. If you do that a few times, you will find that you'll be at so much peace and it helps you relax a lot. Another thing that you can do is if you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed out, anxiety, very anxious, you can do a body scan. And that brings you back to reality like, oh, yeah, I'm here. There's nothing wrong with me. Okay, I notice my hands. I notice my feet. I notice my stomach and everything. So I'm good. Everything is good. So that just brings you back to feeling like you're here and you're real and there's nothing really going on that is out of control, that you are in control, you're back in control. And then we have another system we call the grounding system. And that's for when sometimes even when people are freaking out, have anxiety attack, panic attacks, we call it a grounding system because it also brings you back to reality, to know that I'm okay, I'm protected, nothing is wrong, nothing is happening around me that I cannot control. And that grounding, we tell people to five things, look around and name five things that you can see. So you would look around you and name five things that you can see. As you're pointing these things out, your mind is calming down. And then we say four things that you can touch. And you touch four things, or you can touch the four things that you can touch that are around you, three things that you hear, and it could be the air condition, it could be the heater, it could be the buzzing of the washing machine, or it could be birds singing outside, or anything. So all these, you're using your senses, and when you're using your senses, you're calming your mind down. And then uh, smelling, also things that you can smell. If you can smell anything, maybe a couple of things if somebody's cooking or whatever. So that just grounds you, kind of brings you back to reality when you're feeling overwhelmed. So that's also one of the mechanisms that we use to help people when they're stressed out or very anxious or having panic attacks. Another thing that people do too, or we tell people to do, is reflection or meditation, prayers. Sometimes people do that and it calms their nerves down a lot. So that's another way that you can calm your nerves down, is by meditating. Visualization is another good method of relaxation. So you go into a comfortable place and then you visualize yourself being in a place that you like to go to or you love to go to, or a memory that you have that if you think about it, it makes you overjoyed. So you put yourself in that environment, you put yourself in that place. And when you put yourself in that place, you enjoy that place because this is a place that you feel complete, that you feel happy, and the place that you like to go to. For me, it's Jamaica. I just put myself right there by the beach, and I'm stretched out on the beach, and I'm just close my eyes. I'm listening to the birds, and I'm listening to the waves, and then I open my eyes and the beautiful sand and the coconut trees. You know, it's just so much beauty and nature that it calms my mind so much, and it makes me feel so happy. And it's not too hot, and it's not too cold, and it's just beautiful. And you look up and you see those beautiful waves, you know, going up and down. And then you look at the sand and it's gorgeous sand. and there's food all around you, delicious food that you like to eat, and people all happy, just stretched out on the beach, and some are swimming out there, and some are just on their towels, just relaxing, and it's just so beautiful and calm and peaceful that that's one of my happy places to go to. Actually, one of my happiest places to go to. So whenever I'm feeling stressed out, anxious, or overwhelmed, I take myself to those kind of places. And by the time I go there and hang out there for a few minutes, I come back and I'm completely calm. So learn to do that. Even when you're at work, if you're very stressed out, instead of having a meltdown, you can easily go to a room, a quiet corner, or even take a walk outside. Even a 5 minute walk outside helps. A 5 minutes to yourself to do some breathing and relaxation would help. Drink some water, get away from the computer screen for a few minutes, and then maybe come back to your desk. That does help a lot, so that when you come back, you're relaxed and then you can start back with work. So that's one of the things that I would suggest too, that is very good for your mind when you're going through all of that. So stress is not something that we can avoid. It happens, it comes to all of us, but what we can do about it are these things that I've mentioned, all these things that we've talked about, that does help you. Will always help you have a better balanced life. And when you have that better balanced life and better balanced health, it is also a better balanced mental health. And that's one of the ways that we can accomplish having a better balanced mental health life. So, does anybody have any questions before I go over the end of the rest of the stuff? Any questions? Anybody about anything that I've talked to about so far? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay. So learn to say no. Um, Make sure that you're having time to yourself. You're supposed to, everybody deserves to have, whether you're a mother with a bunch of children, or whether you're in school, or whether you work, or whether, no matter what the circumstances is, always make out time for yourself. It could even be a few minutes where you consider this my time and you do what you want to do for those few minutes, because that definitely helps you relax. Once you tell yourself, see how much stress it will relieve, because me to do whatever I want, whether you want to just lay down there, whether you want to draw, whether you want to do puzzles, whether you want to game for 5, 10, 15 minutes. It's your time and you deserve it. You work so hard. So you deserve to have that time for yourself when you do need it to unwind. And I think everybody should have those few minutes every day to themselves to get that time to unwind. So learn to say no when everybody needs you and you feel overwhelmed. Instead of breaking down, instead of you feeling that you are not good at all, or nothing seems to be working, then just definitely do that. And also be careful with the news. Don't keep on over consuming news, because sometimes there's a lot of bad news, and you don't want that stress from that, because it can be very, very stressful, very, very stressful. So learn to watch news for a little bit, but then go away from it. Don't keep on doing it. Don't stay with it. Don't stay with the news all day long, flipping, scrolling, because you might get disheartened, because there's a lot going on in the world today, and it can bring a lot of frustration for us. So let's learn to get away from the news sometimes and do other things instead of just engaging and let it building up stress for us. That is not good for us. Okay. So, if you take nothing else from everything that I've said today, then consistency in everything that I've mentioned is very, very important, especially with the consistency with everything that we talk with the nutrition, trying to do things that you can, maybe the deep breathing if you feel stressed out, the visualization, make sure you're exercising. So all these things that we've mentioned, and with all the reasons that I mentioned that they are good for your mental health, please try and do all those things. Does anybody have any questions on what we've gone over? Again, I'm Dr. Mary Opara, and I will be doing these live streams. Most likely it might be on Mondays, but I'm still trying to get a feel of it and trying to see how more people can come in, because I have a lot of information to share, a lot of knowledge to share about everything that's going on in society today, all societal issues, um, talking about everything related to anxiety, depression, and other disorders, the treatment approaches, the truths about them, the myths about them, and the best treatment approaches. For now, we'll probably try to focus more on anxiety and depression, so that I can have a targeted audience for now of people. So it will be everything related to depression and anxiety for now. So that's what it will be for my live streams moving forward. And tips, all kinds of tips for mental health, things that you could do to stay healthy with your mental health. So that's what I will be going over. So, are there any questions, any comments, anything uh, that I need to go over again, or you have questions about? Okay. If nothing, um, I think I will round up at 4:35, maybe about 2 more minutes, and we should be good. Are there any questions that you have about anything that I've talked about so far? No questions about anything? Okay. So, like I said before, the news, there's so much information going on. And when I get a lot of clients, they're very, very stressed out because they don't know what to do with the news. And I tell them, just cut back on it. Less is better than too much, because the more you consume, the more stressed out you get. So I tell people all the time to cut back on the news consumption. Just pick sometimes in the day that you will grab some news and just stay for a few minutes, or maybe just a few minutes here and there. And then after that you can head out, because you don't want to stay all through all day and end up being all stressed out, because that's how people get stressed out and anxious and sometimes even depressed, because I do get a lot of people who get so depressed after watching the news and don't know what to do with themselves. So yeah, so things like that. So let's just be aware of it and not consume too much of it, especially since it's not too good for us. All righty, if there are no more questions, or no question at all, then I will end this here today, and I will see you. I will determine whether it will be on Monday moving forward. I will have to find a way to let people know that I'm doing this, because I can't just have a couple of people in here if I'm going to be doing this, because I'm sharing a lot of valuable information. But all righty, thank you so much for anybody who did show up. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.